Hi, welcome to Just Common Sense. My name's Brian Harrison, and I got Jerry on the line again. We're going to be talking about, what am I going to talk about? Oh, the balloon, spy balloon, number 3. You know, when I said number 3, the liberals said, that's right, Trump had 3 balloons that flew over. That's exactly what they got out of that, instead of saying, oh, this was the 3rd episode I just put out about this. Hey, Jerry, what's going on?
Hey, not much. It's funny you say that because a lot of times they just look at a title or a listing or something like that. They don't actually listen to, podcasts like this or read articles or anything like that. So you're right. If they saw, balloon 3, they would think that that's what you were talking about.
Exactly. And I said something to Jerry earlier today about, let's go into it. The 3 balloons that Trump apparently had fly into the U.S. Now, they did not. Sent him an article, and he said, look at the top. And
one thing about that, too, is, that, too many people, like I said, don't read in. And the one thing that you just said that's very important for people to understand, and that's why I wanted to bring this up, is that under the Trump presidency, a couple of balloons entered U.S. airspace and then immediately left it. None of them flew over the United States like under Biden. So did they enter U.S. airspace? Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the reason they didn't stay in U.S. airspace is because they were told that if they did, that it was going to get shot down. So,
Yes. And I'm going to say something, Jerry. They were approximately just under that 12-mile mark. For you guys out there that want to know, that is where international waters start at the 12-mile mark. So if you're out there 12 miles, guess what? You're off the coast. So that's where they were. They were just off the coast. And then again, they left, and that happens a lot. That's happened before, even before Trump. That's happened with Obama. It's happened with other presidents out there. These things happen, but never, ever crossed the United States. Ever.
Never. So, the Russians have even flown military aircraft right into the very edge of our sovereign airspace just to antagonize us. And, I think they wanted to see what the response was. And it's but never has a Russian aircraft flown directly across the United States over sensitive military bases and everything like that. And nothing from China, from Russia, from anybody, at least that we're aware of.
Right. So I've heard different things today. I'm going to, I had to correct a few people on some things. Jerry corrected me on one thing earlier, and I did go do my research about it. And that's what I found out, that these balloons actually just skimped that 12-mile mark. So, and it's out there, guys. You need to do your research. Some of these liberals are just see the site and they're going, oh, my God, yes, it crossed the whole country. It did. It's all Trump. Guys, you look stupid saying that. Why don't you do your research and actually learn what's going on? I hear so many people saying that today. And that's what
Trump derangement syndrome, man. It's real.
It is. And actually, I went after some conservatives on some stuff today too. One of which came up with an idea, and I won't say who he is because I don't know him, but I guided him and said, you need to do a little research before you do this. He was saying, why didn't we just send helicopters up there and put a net over the balloon and pull the balloon down? Well, max, and that's for these little helicopters can't even go this high, is about 25,000 feet. That thing was at 60,000 feet. It's impossible.
See, and that's another reason why, people don't even understand, when it's not a military application. That's why when you hear about these people, dying up on Mount Kilimanjaro or, what's that other high mountain that everybody wants to get to the top of?
Everest.
Everest. Yeah. That's why when you hear these people, up there and they die of exposure or, altitude sickness or something like that, the reason we can't get them down is because a rescue aircraft can't get up there.
That's
true. The only type of aircraft that could would be a jet aircraft that, wouldn't, be able to do anything to affect a rescue. And so, but a helicopter can't fly up there. Most propeller internal combustion engine planes can't fly up there. And so it's just, I mean, so for the person that said, oh yeah, we should just had a helicopter drop a net over it. Yeah. Okay. You've been watching too many movies.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't definitely a sci-fi movie. This is something that really happened, and it's tragic that this happened. So actually, I gave one thought about going up to Mount Everest once. I actually thought about it for about maybe 10 seconds, and that's as far as I thought, because I said, I'm going to die if I go up there, so I decided not to.
And yeah, it sounded like a good idea when we were younger, but then when you actually look into what it takes to actually go there and do, and the training that you have to do, and how long it actually takes you from the time you get there, and what you have to put your body through, it's just, I mean, it does take a special person to do that, and I'm not that guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
Maybe when I was younger I could have, but at this point, not anymore.
Jerry, I got to say it. I was at the top of Mount Everest. You know what?
Oh.
Everybody just now, all the liberals said, yes, he said he was at the top of Mount Everest. But you didn't hear the rest of the story, did you? That's where you stopped and went on. No, I was on a VR headset. Those guys climbed to the top, so therefore I was seeing from the top down, and it felt like you were really there. And after looking at,
cool.
I know, and after looking at that, I decided, no way. I couldn't even make that hike. But that is the rest of the story.
But those guys, I mean, it's like, seriously, I mean, it takes like weeks and weeks just to get there. It's not like you climb up there in a day or two and come down in a day or two. I mean, you're over there for a long time, and you're, off the grid for a long time. And, I mean, and that's, so, but, just, I know we kind of got a little off track, to think that, we'll just fly a helicopter up to 60. Well, and actually the balloon was at 60,000 feet.
Yeah.
All right. So your helicopters would have had to gone higher than that to get above it to be able to drop. So I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And this is just the part. And even when I just said Everest a minute ago, the rest of the story, it's just to prove a point that you need to do your research.
Yeah.
You can't, I've said it many, many, many times. You need to hear it, not just from a friend, because friends are wrong. Look, I brought up something to Jerry today, and I knew it wasn't accurate completely, but Jerry pointed it out. Wait a minute. Jerry actually told me I was wrong on something.
I was right about something?
I was wrong about something? But I didn't think it really happened anyway. That's why I ran it by you. I said, I just got to research this, and I sent it to Jerry, so I did some research. He did some research anyway. So
teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, let's talk about a few things. First of all, where's Waldo? Oh, I mean, where is Biden? Yeah. Every time he talks, he is definitely Biden. You're waving at him because he turns his back and walks away. That being said, why hasn't he been out on TV speaking about this? This is a very serious thing that happened. You know why? You can answer this, Jerry. Why do you think he's not on TV talking about this?
Well, for one, he has no answer, no valid answer. But two, right. I think that this is something that, he just was afraid to act on because of what we've spoken about before, where, he might be beholden to, either through himself or through his son Hunter, to people in China, whether it be the government or just Chinese oligarchs or, something like that. But, he is beholden to some people over there because obviously he saw the necessity to shoot it down after it was over the ocean. So obviously he realizes that it was not just a weather balloon that was out of control. And, the thing is, he let it go completely across the United States and, go over very sensitive areas that we would not let a military aircraft fly over. And, and he did nothing about it. And so it just, it shows you his, inefficiency and to be the president in being the president and his inability to do the job. And, and it's like, so obviously if he had it shot down, he acknowledges that it was not just a weather balloon, but by not doing it before it flew over all these sensitive areas, then he also acknowledges that, he is unwilling to do the job.
Right. So the one thing I want to give me a minute here, Jerry. One thing I want to say about this, though, is there's actually a couple things I want to say about this, but the Aleutian Islands, why wasn't it taken out? That's next to Alaska, by the way, guys, and that is over our space right there. We could have taken it out right then and there. Biden was aware of this. Can't tell me he wasn't, because guess what? There are satellites, radar, everything up there watching Alaska. Alaska is part of the United States. That's how they catch all these other planes coming in. Obviously, Russian planes and stuff like that coming close to, which Jerry said earlier, coming close to our 12-mile mark there. Now, that being said, they knew this was out there. They should have taken it down, and that's what they should have done. Now, this thing could have been taken down in Montana. Again, another chance, which wasn't done. He took it out as soon as it got out of South Carolina here. And guess what? The president of China is very upset over this and said there will be some actions of some sort. We'll see what they are. He's very upset over this. Now, let me ask you a question, guys. Why would the president of China be upset when he actually said, or I don't know if he said it, but the government over there apologized before all this, when all this started. They actually apologized one time to us, first time ever. But why would you be upset then if it's just a weather balloon, they said? So why would you be upset? Because they're hiding and they're lying about this stuff. That's exactly what it's about. And they don't want us to have their classified information. Guys, this stuff was, I'm sure this stuff was broadcasting information as it was mapping our land and going over everything. Now, Jerry, I'm going to ask you in a minute. I've already brought this up. There are satellites that can actually, pick up writing on a pen. They're more accurate than a balloon. Jerry, explain that.
Well, there's a couple things there. One, it's not a matter of whether it's a satellite or it's a balloon. It's a matter of what kind of photographic equipment is on that satellite or on that balloon. Now, granted, our satellites are unbelievable in what they can pick up on the ground, but also the people who are considered our adversaries and, us going into their airspace, even though we like to have our satellites in a position where we can gather as much information as possible, we're very cautious to be directly over a lot of these countries. And, same thing with them. So maybe they don't have the particular angle that they need with their satellite, or maybe they don't have, the particular magnification to see what they wanted to see. But you know what? Let's just go with, okay, you know what? Satellites give them everything that they need. So why would they send a balloon over? Well, let's just say that that's the case. Then they send this balloon as a test. Hey, you know what? How weak are the Americans? And how far will they let us go? And, it's one of those things, like, for example, the schoolyard bully, the schoolyard bully will come in and he'll push you and he'll, punch you in the arm and, knock you down or make fun of you in front of your friends and, stuff like that, until you stand up and you pop them in the nose or you pop them in the eye. And then all of a sudden, most schoolyard bullies are not brave people. They're brave until they get stood up to. But so now what happens is people know how far they can push you, and that bully knows how far he can go with you. So now China knows what they can get away with. And so by sending that balloon up, yes, it may not be any different than, what they get off a satellite, but I disagree with that, because I got to tell you, some satellites are, like 100 miles or 80 miles or whatever above the surface of the earth. Mm-hmm. And 60,000 feet, although a lot of, that's a high altitude for something that's in our atmosphere.
Right.
As far as the cameras from 60,000 feet can pick up even much more. Think about if you put the same camera on that balloon that you had on a satellite that was 50 miles further away.
Exactly.
So if you put that same photographic equipment on the balloon, you're getting much better pictures, than you would get, or much better data. But the other thing it might be too, maybe it's not just pictures. Maybe they were looking for atmospheric data as well.
Right. And they flew over. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, no, because, I'll just throw something in real quick. Because when we first bombed Japan during World War II. Right?
Right.
Not the atomic bombs, but just regular bombing when we started bombing Japan in World War II. Some of our planes couldn't understand why their bombs were not hitting on target. Well, one of the reasons that our bombs were not hitting on target is that they were caught in that jet stream above Japan. And instead of flying against it, they were flying with it. So the plane was going much faster than they realized. And so they dropped their bombs thinking, that they were going a certain speed, but because they had that jet stream pushing them, they were actually going faster than they realized. And so, once they realized that, then they made the adjustment. So, sending a balloon up into the atmosphere directly above the United States and Canada might give them atmospheric data that maybe they didn't have before. So now you add the fact that they have cameras on there as well. And I know that you were discussing with me earlier that, some people are trying to say, oh, well, it didn't have any ability to steer itself.
Right.
I would fully disagree with that because, they have these solar panels on there that are adjustable to maximize the capture of the solar energy. And if those are able to be adjusted, I guarantee there's some sort of rudder or other steering device on that balloon. It might not be able to fly like an airplane, but there's steering devices on there.
Right. And they were probably using the jet stream for some of this, I'm sure.
For some, yeah, but the jet stream doesn't drop down to, Tennessee and then come out in South Carolina.
Right, and it maintained 60,000 feet the whole time. It didn't go up, down. It stayed in that level, so they were controlling it somehow to stay in that 60,000 foot mark.
And they even made the comment at one point when, our government said, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" They made the comment, well, we lost control for a while. Well, you can't lose control if you never had control. So they were controlling it. And then they lost, or at least they claim they lost control.
Right.
Just by claiming they lost control means that at one point they had control.
Well,
and actually, one last thing I want to leave you with, too, because you mentioned this. I don't want to forget this.
No, go ahead.
You talked about us, knowing that it was in the air and on the way and, our radar stations and everything like that. One thing about large countries like ours, like China, like Russia, like France, England, we monitor other countries around the world that might at some point be an adversary of ours.
Right.
So people might not realize this. We know every time a plane takes off in China. We know every time one of these balloons launches, and they know the same thing about us. And so for anybody to say that this was a surprise that this balloon showed up in U.S. airspace, I'm sorry. We knew the moment that thing left the ground in China. I mean, it's not a tiny thing. It's the size of 3 school buses. So we knew the moment that it left the ground, and we were tracking the direction that it was going. So there is no possible way that it surprised us and we didn't know until it was too late.
Right. All right, so let me mention a few things here. First of all, you guys have apps out there. There's apps out there where you can actually see planes taking off from airport, what these planes are, the altitude, and everything else. There are apps, if you go on Android, Apple, you can download these apps. They're free. You can watch all this stuff. So that just tells you right there how accurate these things are. You could see them in Alaska and all over the place. That's pretty impressive. Imagine what the government has. So
no kidding.
Exactly. There's the point right there. Now, I want to mention something. First of all this information they were getting going across our country right now. Do you think China is looking into that? Do you think China is going to go ahead and share that information with Russia, Iran, North Korea? Hey, you're reading my notes again. But
and possibly even like Afghanistan and places like that.
Yes. So there you are. And you know what that gives them? That gives them, guess what? Allies. More allies in case something does happen. If we go to war, which I pray we don't, but there's been a lot of talk about it. Wasn't this kind of talk when other presidents were in office, was there? But not like this. But anyway, look at the allies they're going to have. Look at what we're going to have. They were talking about this. I was listening to this. We're handing so much, and I'm not saying anything against Ukraine, obviously, but we can only give so much. We're going to have to resupply our own weapons and ammunition just to take care of ourselves if that were to happen. Do you know they're going to talk about, when's he talking? I think tomorrow night, next night, our soon-known president. I think he's going to talk about, anyway, not about what happened, I'm sure, but we need more money for our defense. And they're trying to take money away out of that. The stupidest thing in the world. China's building up like crazy. We don't want a war, but we want to at least have a defense to say, okay, we got enough to handle you guys, back off, and that's it. That's all we've ever been here for. That's what the United States is about. We don't like to attack people generally. We like to defend our country. We have gone after other countries only when we had to defend another country we're allies with.
Well, no war was ever stopped by weakness. Wars are only stopped by strength.
Correct.
And when I say stopped, I mean before they start. So no aggressive country ever looked at a weak country and said, "Oh, you know what? They're too weak. We're going to wait till they build up."
Yep.
And wait till they build up, or looked at a strong country and said, "Wow, that country's really strong, man. We should go in there and get our butt handed to us." No,
right.
They want to go after the weak countries. And right now we are at a weak point in leadership. We're at a weak point in supplies. And, right now we're focused on things like, gender equity and, things like that in our military. And it's like, rather than going out and training, and just, being the best that we can possibly be and being the most lethal fighting force that we can be.
Right. And then our fuel reserves. Here we are, guys. Oh, well, we have plenty of fuel reserves. Joe Biden took all that and made our gas prices cheaper. Guess what? Gas prices are going up now. The fuel reserves are low. Yeah, it's not refilled those things yet. And then we get in a crisis here. Guess what? Do you know what those fuel reserves are for? Bing, bing, hello. And you voted for this guy. Can't believe the ignorance of some of these people. The ignorance of some of these people.
Yep.
I mean, they just don't do their own research. It just amazes me how they even got, it just amazes me how they even got anywhere in life. I mean, I say everybody's got some intelligence somewhere. I don't want to call anybody stupid, but in certain areas, do your research, because I'm not perfect either. My wife will tell you that all the time. No, but no, all kidding aside, everybody's got some intelligence somewhere. Everybody's got things they need to pick up knowledge in other areas. And that's what this is about. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Do your research, guys. Don't just hear it from a friend, hear it from the news, because we hear it on the right and left on both news channels. And they're both hyping their side up. Trust me, not everything's accurate.
Well, not only that, but the hypocrisy that goes with the lack of knowledge sometimes is quite dangerous if you think about it, because I have a person I went to high school with, and she lives in New Hampshire, and she's always, and New Hampshire is kind of a weird state because, they got a lot of conservatives up there, but they typically wind up going left in their elections for the most part. But, she, always talks about like, oh, yeah, I lived in Europe for a while, and everybody over there had vegetable gardens, and everybody didn't have. Yes, some people had. And it's like, but guess what? This person does not ever put on Facebook or mention that they have. She doesn't have a garden. She talks about, global warming. Okay. Guess who doesn't show solar panels on their house? Talks about like, oh, people shouldn't leave their cars running in the winter. They should just bring extra blankets and everything. Well, guess who doesn't drive an electric car? Guess who doesn't have a windmill at their house? And it's like, so, I look at stuff like that. And so when you combine the hypocrisy with the lack of knowledge, that's when it becomes extremely dangerous. Either of those two things by themselves can be bad, but when you combine the two, it's actually dangerous.
Absolutely.
Because you wind up with a Biden.
It's true. That's true. And then we got, hold on, I got to always do it. We got Biden's vice president there. What's her name? That's all she would do is laugh. She would giggle through this whole thing because she wouldn't, if she were president, she would not know how to handle it either. In some ways, she could be worse. Some way, I don't even know about that, to be honest with you. I have no idea what she would be like. It'd be just terrible. It would be.
I got to tell you, if the media on the left treated Biden and Harris the same way that they treated Donald Trump and also, back in the day, Dan Quayle.
Right.
Okay. There is absolutely no way that either one of them would have a chance at getting reelected.
Right.
Because their gaffes are so gigantic. I mean, when you look at all the gaffes that Biden's made, if those had been, played out in the media the way that they tried to, railroad Trump into some of this stuff. And then you look at, Harris, who really has very little clue what she's talking about.
Right.
I mean, I think she's an unintelligent person. I think she has gotten passed through life. Well, we know how she got to some of her positions, but
I understand.
I think she's also gotten passed through life, just by doing what you're saying, just, laughing, it's like, that's like, when you're younger and, you meet some girl and, she flips her hair with her hand and giggles and says, "Oh, you're so funny." And it's like, when we give her a pass, we don't, ask her any serious questions. Oh, yeah, she thinks I'm funny. So, I mean, and maybe that's her gig, And
it might be, but to be honest, I mean, she might be maybe okay in city council, some small town or something, just so people can talk to her. But I mean, when I hear her speak, it's not that great. I don't think she can keep up a great conversation because when you listen to her, it's like, oh, the stars, or she comes up with stuff that makes no sense to me. It really
there's
doesn't.
No way that any of the world leaders that she's met would take her seriously. They're just like, wow, I can't believe that the people of America have this person, one spot away from the presidency.
Yep.
And there's probably some countries out there hoping that she does become president. There's some that are praying to God she does not become president.
Right. Hey, I'm going to say this, though. Give me a second. So, first of all, I know a lot of you liberals just then when we were talking about them going, oh, they're typical Trumpsters. No, we are not. That's the thing. The thing is, when we talk about this, I could talk about Trump. There's things I don't like about Trump. I'll say it. He's not perfect. He's not perfect, but his policies were. His policies were great, and there were things I do like about him, but there's things I like about other presidents, even some of the Democrats in the past. There are things that I can say. There were a few of them I like certain things they said. I agreed with some things, but not everything. But again, this particular guy right now running the country, there is nothing I can see I agree with this guy on. Zero, because I have seen everything he's done. You go back and look at his history. You look at this guy's history. I actually have seen where he talks about racing on. He talks about it in a bad way. He actually is, and you go into his past, you'll be calling him a racist. Jerry knows this. He's researched
And that's
them.
the problem, that most people haven't looked at the things he's said and done. Like when he mentioned, his kids getting into an integrated school and they'd be going to a racial jungle, and, his comment that he made up in, the Northeast when he was talking about you can't own a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have an Indian accent.
Right.
And then he made that comment about, that poor kids are just as smart as white kids.
Yes.
I mean, and that's a quote, by the way.
I mean,
so yeah. Well, I just want to make sure the people listening understand that that's a quote, because that's not me paraphrasing. Even he actually said that poor kids are just as smart as white kids. And so, so in other words, he's saying that everybody that's poor is of a racial diverse background.
Right.
So. I don't know. The guy is just he's as racist as they come, in my opinion.
Right, and I would respect the guy if he came back and he said, "Look, when I was younger, I made mistakes. I am totally wrong with what I said back in the day." Because we've all done stupid stuff, and we've all made mistakes. We're all guilty of things. We all are. And you guys can say, "Oh, no, I'm not." No, you are. That's what makes us human. And that's what we've got to realize. We're here to help each other, but again, we got so much division right now. It's ridiculous out there. And obviously, when you get people like him and other people, he was supposed to be the one, he says, to bring everybody together. Actually, he's pushed everybody more apart than anybody. What's your thoughts?
When he comes straight out and makes verbal attacks against Republicans.
Yes.
Saying we've got to stop the Republicans. We've got to stop the MAGA right. We've got to, so he's labeling people and pointing fingers and dividing us further rather than saying, hey, we need to find out what's going on the MAGA right and see how we can work with them. Or we've got to find out what's going on with conservatives and see how we can work with them. But instead, he tells people that they need to ostracize the right and ostracize MAGA Republicans and, don't do business with them and things like that. And it's like he does the exact opposite of uniting.
So I'm going to say one more thing, and give me a minute here. You look at Maxine Waters. She's another one who pushes the opposite way. She's not good. And she uses the word black word. And I hate those words because when you bring the word white, black, anything into it, that's honestly, it depends how you're using it, but that's honestly racist in a way because you're dividing people. You're saying, yeah, you're white, I'm black, you're pink, whatever the case may be. And then I want to say another thing. You talk about Joe Biden and you talk about people like that are attacking. All of a sudden, you guys on the left, you're going, well, guess what? You got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. You've got all these people. You know why they're doing it? Because they are tired of being pushed around by the bullies on the left. And there is a point where you can back us up into a corner and we're going to come out like a lion. And I'm telling you, you have pushed and pushed and pushed. And that's why you're seeing the conservatives starting to come out like we are because we're tired of it. We are not going to take this from you guys. And that's why we are acting the way we are. And we don't want to be this way. Trust me, we shouldn't have to be this way. So stop doing it. Come together. And everybody needs to sit back and realize, let's just put this thing together and work together. We're not going to agree on everything. We don't. But at least we can work through it. Anyway, Jerry, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And probably one of the things that has a lot to do with what you just said is that the right, when they do something wrong, everybody wants to, hold them accountable legally. They want to throw them in prison. They want to kick them out of office and everything like that. And, the Republicans, if they do something wrong, they're like, oh, shoot, man, I did something wrong. And, sorry about that. My apologies, whatever. Ilhan Omar is a perfect example of what the left does.
Yes.
All they do is the first thing they do is they scream race or they scream gender or they scream nationality or something like that. They never say, oh, yeah, I did something wrong. They just go ahead but then again, to be fair to the squad, okay, let's look at the leadership that they had for years. Nancy Pelosi, who stood up after the president's speech and ripped up her copy of the president's speech on national television.
Right.
That's the kind of example of leadership that these young women have.
Right.
And so you take somebody who's already uninformed and who's already got an axe to grind, and then you put them with irresponsible leadership like that, and what do you expect? And so that's why we're getting from the left what we're getting.
Yeah.
And the people on the right, what's kind of funny is some of these people that you just mentioned, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of those.
Matt Gaetz,
in reality, they're not radical.
No.
Okay. We're just being told they are. Right. And so, some people on the right are even taking the bait. And, but, I got to tell you something. I've never heard a radical idea come out of Marjorie Taylor Greene's mouth. And, same thing with Matt Gaetz and Tom Cotton and Jim Jordan. And, I've heard some radical stuff come out of the people on the left's mouth, and, it's really funny because they're the ones that want to cut the military budget, but they're the ones screaming that we're not helping Ukraine right now.
Right. And, the problem is they're going to look at when we got the House Speaker in there recently, people are going, but those were the ones that were trying to stop it from happening. No, they were trying to get things handled with him so he would understand that he can only do certain stuff. They're holding him accountable for things. That's Correct. What they're doing. They're holding him accountable. And any good Senate or any good, when you're in the House, they're going to hold their leader accountable. And they need to do that because you are there as a group to do that, not just to give one person all the power like Pelosi had.
Well, see, and actually Pelosi manipulated that while she was the speaker.
Right.
And so a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the things that, Matt Gaetz and some of these other people that were voting against McCarthy at first were trying to do, what they were trying to do is just return the rules to where they used to be.
Right.
They weren't trying to come up with new rules.
Exactly.
They were just trying to bring it back to the point where the speaker was not some monarch, some royal sitting there, pontificating. It's a democratic process. We are a democratic republic. And in a democratic republic, you have representatives who vote for you. I personally, I don't think that we got it far enough. I personally think that, we need to put it where every single bill that is written should be written by itself. You should not be allowed to put two things together in one
Agreed.
bill. And I think that every bill that is presented should be voted on.
Agreed. Agreed on this.
And I think that every bill that, I think there should be like a standard of how long before you vote based on the length of the bill. So if you've got a 1,000-page bill, no, you shouldn't have to vote on it in 2 days.
Right.
Well, it's like, but that's just my thoughts on it.
No. And you, hold on, let me go in that. You got the right thought here, Jerry, because I hear it from people on the left and the right. People out here in the real world, not up there. But let me tell you something. People out here are fed up and tired of bills having all these little tiny things in there. Many, many things in there that you don't get to read about. And all of a sudden you find out what? They put what in the bill? And we're spending what kind of money? On what? Just something that's so stupid like what? It's ridiculous, some of the stuff they put in bills. Keep them separate.
Yep. Yeah, if you think your idea is such a good idea, then put it up on its own merits.
Or at least group them together. Like, if we're going to say, okay, we're going to put a bill, basically, what products we need in the bathroom. No, we're not going to divide them up as toilet paper and all this. I'm making a joke out of this, but it's
right,
true.
Right.
It's true.
Well, yeah,
and
you can say, bathroom supplies would be your bill, and here's what it includes.
Exactly.
But right now they mix like defense bills with, something to do with
gender bills,
Department of the Interior, gender or education funding or, something like that. And then what happens is if anybody votes against it for any reason, then they come back and hold them accountable. Say, oh, that person's anti-military. They voted against the military pay raise. Well, no, they didn't vote against the military pay raise.
Right.
They voted against a bill that happened to include a military pay raise, but also included a bunch of nonsense that, somebody else put in there.
Right. And this is where the American people, right and left and middle, I'll say it because of the independents, but this is where you need to hold your government, your president, your congressmen and women accountable for doing the right things. They need to separate these bills, and they don't. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on it.
But I just had to bring that up, though, because so many people out there think that what these people were doing was, anti-democratic republic, but in reality, they were trying to bring the power back where it belonged and take it away from. Speaker of the House is not all they're supposed to do is guide.
Correct.
The House and what the House is doing. They're not supposed to make the decisions for the House. There are certain decisions the Speaker needs to make, but they're not there to be the House of Representatives. And it's like, and that's the problem that, Nancy Pelosi had little by little, changed the nature of the Speaker of the House position.
Right. And I'm going to say it, but I've talked about this before. Nancy Pelosi did it, and she did it the way she wanted to do it. And believe it or not, a lot of people on the left, I see them out there in the social media sites, it's called conditioning.
Yeah.
And that's what she was doing. She was conditioning.
Well, she did it little by little. Yeah.
Little by little conditioning. I've talked about it on a show where they take one step up, one step back, 2 steps up, 1 step back, and they're starting to condition you. Don't let them do that. Do your research. Take control of what's going on, who you're voting for, and what's going on with all these people. Because call your congressmen and women. Call the White House. I said it on my podcast yesterday. You need to call the White House. You need to call the congressmen and women and ask them, why did we take so long to get that balloon out of the sky? Why wasn't it taken out over Alaska? Why? The only thing I heard from these people yesterday on the left, a lot of them going, Biden's the man. He did such a great job. No, he failed. He's got an F-. And the reason
all you
why,
need to know about that is that Biden didn't say anything while it was happening.
And he's not said anything yet. So he only said one thing. And you know what he said? He said, This is what I heard. He said it yesterday. He said, well, I told the military or the Pentagon. I said, he goes, I told him to, on Wednesday, I believe it was, 3 days ago, to go ahead and knock that thing out of the skies. And they said, well, we're going to knock it out. Yes, we're going to knock it out when it's in a nice, safe place. No, that should have been done when it was over Alaska. And that's what you guys got to look at. Now, you can't say he's got an A+. He is a failure on this. He failed. And the military, I'll say it, the Pentagon and all them, if they were behind him on this, they failed on this. Absolutely. They got an F- as well. And Jerry said it the other day. He was saying there are a lot of people at the Pentagon right now pounding on walls and everything because they knew this should have been done in Alaska. But their hands were tied. Our government, our military, I guarantee there's a lot of them out there going, what the heck's going on?
And actually, if it wouldn't have been an international provocation, what would have been fun to do in retrospect, I mean, I know hindsight's 2020. Yeah. What would have been fun to do is when it was flying over those bases in Wyoming and Montana and everything like that, is we should have opened the silo doors to our missiles. And
a joke, guys.
Well, no. Think about this. But if we really did that,
there is that. But
all right, if we really open the doors, now I'm not saying fire up the engines or anything like that, but if we open the doors to them, all right, if China responds, then we know that it wasn't just a weather satellite, because a weather satellite wouldn't know that we were opening the doors. But if we had opened those doors when that balloon was over there and all of a sudden China's like, whoa, that's international provocation. I was like, well, wait, how did you know that we opened those doors?
Exactly. We have satellites. Okay. No, you have a balloon there.
Exactly. So, it's like in those old movies where somebody sticks a camera up in the light fixture and next thing you know, they're calling the person and saying, hey, see that, glass of water over there on your coffee table? And you're like, oh my God, what do you mean? And it's like, and so, but if we had done that, that would have been a very interesting response, because they would have had to either ignore it and pretend they didn't see it, or they would have had to go into some sort of alert status thinking that we were going to respond.
Oh, yeah.
And if they went to the alert status, they have to admit that there's cameras on the balloon.
Oh, yeah. How many people are joining the military? I know they're having a lot less people joining the law enforcement now because of what's going on. And it's sad. Because of these cities and crimes, and they're not being, from these governors on the left especially, they're not being helped out there, a lot of them, in some of these cities.
Well, the numbers are far down, because remember last year they were talking about lowering the standard for entry into the military. But I'll give you one that I just found out the other day, and I won't give you a name or anything like that because this person's still in.
Yeah, definitely.
But I was told about somebody who is in the Army Reserves. This is by somebody who's in the Army Reserves. That now there are certain medals that you can get in peacetime or wartime that are not necessarily related to combat. And so in the Army Reserves, now if you refer, I think it's one or two people that enlist and show up for training, you get an Army Achievement Medal. Okay. Wow. Now that's normally a medal that, you have to go out and bust your hump for.
Yeah.
I've got 2 Navy Achievement Medals from when I was in the Marines, but I busted my hump for both of them, and both of them came to me kind of as a surprise, because even though I was busting my hump, it was just what you're supposed to do. So was I recognized for doing a great job? Yeah, I was recognized for doing a great job. But in my opinion, I was just doing what I was supposed to do. So, but it gets worse. So if you recruit like 2 people or refer like 2 people, you can get an Army Achievement Medal. Right. Well, the next level up is the Army Commendation Medal. And the Navy Marines have a similar one called the Navy Commendation. Right. All right. And so if you refer, I think it's 4 people, you get an Army Commendation Medal, which is the next step up. If you refer 6 people, you can get the next level. Oh, gosh, I forgot what the name of it is. But it's like this medal that normally you only get for high positions of authority and an incredibly impressive job and everything like that. Right. So, the Achievement Medal is something not to sneeze at. The Commendation Medal is definitely nothing to sneeze at. But then you could get the third one higher than that just for referring 6 people who join the Army Reserves and join the reserves. I want you to think about that. So their recruiting is so bad, they're now giving away medals just for referring people that join.
Wow.
Not for performance in your job, not for, and this isn't for recruiters. This is just for the average guy that's in the Army Reserves right now. That's how bad recruiting is, that they're giving away medals simply if you refer somebody.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy. I'm just reading something somebody sent to me, see if it was anything. No. Sometimes I get a lot of news that people send me real quick, and I was just trying to catch it, so make sure something didn't happen. Because right now I'm watching the news constantly just to see what China's doing, what's happening. I'm sure we're going to hear more and more, especially next couple days, of what's going on out there.
Okay, I just looked it up. It's worse than I thought. One person referred is an Army Achievement Medal. 3 referred as the Army Commendation, and 5 referred as the Meritorious Service Medal, which is a very high level peacetime decoration. So if you just refer 5 people, you get a Meritorious Service Medal. Okay. And then he told me later when I questioned that, he sent me the actual, documentation to show me that they've been told that. And also, if you refer, I think 6 or more, then you get the Army recruiting ribbon as well, even if you never served a tour on recruiting duty.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me? It's like, so now their recruiting is so bad. So this just goes to your point of our government is so jacked up that to convince people to join, we have to give them things, we have to give people things for getting people to join that they don't really deserve and haven't earned.
Yep. I know. Hey, hold on. I got breaking news just coming in right now. Hold on. All right. Biden officials correct record after claims Chinese spy balloons traveled over U.S. during a Trump administration. Meaning that what they're saying is that they are correcting everything they said. They got caught in a lie. Hold on. I got to play something for everybody. Here's Joe Biden. All right. So we got some real truth here. A little bit of applause there. It just came across the news just a minute ago, guys. So definitely what we're talking about today, there you go. That's why you do your homework.
But I just want to point something out to go with that.
Yep.
Have you noticed that the only time the Biden administration ever admits to anything is after they've been caught?
Absolutely.
Hunter's laptop was Russian collusion. Now all of a sudden it's like, well, now it's just unimportant. It doesn't really, and so, that was one thing. And then, the Russian collusion that they tried to, take Trump out of office for, well, now they're admitting that, that wasn't true, but only after they were caught. And, so it's just all these different things. They only admit anything after they're caught.
Yep. Check your phone, Jerry. Oh, gosh. That's hilarious. So anyway, this whole show has just been changed to it's called The Truth. Yes. And Knowledge. Did you read it?
What's that?
I just texted it to you, bud.
Oh. I heard it come in. I just hadn't looked at it. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Right there.
Yep. That's pretty funny.
There you go,
the
guys.
Thing is, there's enough people out there saying, hey, I need proof. And, once you can't provide the proof, then you have to either be silent and, people realize that you're hiding, or you have to come back, oh, yeah, I made a mistake. Sorry about that. My bad. At least you control the narrative when you make an apology. If you just let it sit out there, then it festers and it makes you look worse.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if it was an apology more than it was a correction.
Right.
I don't think Biden's capable of apologizing. I've never heard him apologize about anything.
No, I agree with that. I agree.
He's too arrogant.
Matter of fact, he usually goes on the attack when he's wrong.
Right. I think Trump would have knocked him out back in his day when he said he wanted to take him behind the
school. I know. He's a big talker. That's all he is.
Oh gosh, yeah. I saw him back in his younger days. Trust me, he no, no way. All right, guys. Anything else we got going on here? Because we have been on for 49 minutes. We were going to do a half an hour show, but this thing always turns out to be longer than it should be. But we're having fun.
Well, just to go back though, what just happened this week with the spy balloon was completely mishandled by our administration. And, the fact that thing, the first time we heard about that balloon should have been somebody from either the Pentagon or the White House coming on TV saying, hey, you know what, a balloon entered our airspace and we warned the Chinese and they didn't listen, so we shot it down, and it's already down. It's gone.
Yeah.
It should not have gone, through Alaska, then through Canadian airspace, coming down into, Wyoming and Montana and all that stuff, then down, across like Tennessee and,
within the last week, there was a vicious hate crime in
North
California.
Carolina and South Carolina and everything like that. It's like that should have never happened.
Yeah.
And, here's the thing. People say, oh, well, we couldn't shoot it down safely. Nonsense. There is so much open space in everywhere that thing went that there was a safe place to knock it down all along the way.
Right.
I used to travel to Tennessee for work all the time, and there's tons of open space in Tennessee.
Right.
I spent plenty of time in Ohio. There's plenty of open space in Ohio. There's plenty of open space in Pennsylvania and Wyoming and Montana and Minnesota and all these other places. It's like the big cities are where the populations are. Yeah. So all you got to do is figure out, okay, you know what would the rate of descent be?
Right.
And it's at 60,000 feet. So you shoot at it before it gets over a population center, and you knock it down, or you shoot at it while it's over the population center, because it's going to travel another few miles and then fall into an empty space. And but it crossed giant lakes, it crossed open expanses of land,
right?
And it was completely mishandled by our administration. Yep. No ifs, ands, or buts.
So yeah, I know. So what happened to the other balloon? I know there's another balloon in another country was flying around.
That was in South America, yeah.
Okay, so we haven't heard any more on that, but there's your answer right there, guys. China lost another balloon over South America. What kind of control do they have?
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like, you bring up a great point. I was reading an article about that not too long ago where, there were some people talking about that. Like, okay, if they're losing control of all these balloons, maybe they need to stop sending them up,
Exactly.
And so it's ironic. And the South American countries that it flew over, some of them are, allies of ours.
Yeah. So there's your answer right there, guys. And that's what I was talking about yesterday, the day before. I was talking about, well, there's another balloon out there. They can't lose control of that many balloons. No way. Not like that. All right, guys. We're going to clean it up here and get out of here. I've got things I'm going to do, like get all this all over the social media sites now. So, guys, you're going to hear from me a lot this week. I am going to be on a lot more. I'm sure Jerry's going to be on as much as he can with me a lot more. My numbers are starting to climb again. They dropped because I was out for a while, but they are going quick again. So, guys, just want to thank you for listening, and definitely go to my website, just-markcommonsense.com. Again, just-markcommonsense.com. Scroll down, subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple. I'm everywhere out there. Just please do so, and email me. I will answer those questions back unless they're stupid. Had one crazy out there today, I'll say it, said that we're going to talk about, I want to do this real quick, conspiracy theorists. I love listening to them. They're fun to listen to. The scary thing is, once in a while, some of them are right. But the funny thing is, we had one today saying, oh, no, that wasn't a weather balloon over, or not weather balloon, a spy balloon over Montana. That was a UFO. Yet they had another balloon down in, South Carolina just to get the attention off the UFO. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there were two identical balloons, but one's a UFO and the other one's a distraction.
Exactly. And I'm sitting here, I sent it to Jerry and a couple friends, and we were just busting out laughing. And but that's out there, and that's fine. Whatever. There are people out there, and that person now is following me, and that's his choice. That's fine. And hey, maybe he'll get something correct one day, but that's fine too. All right, guys, thanks for listening. And I do want to thank our law enforcement for everything you guys do. I want to thank our military for everything you guys do. Also want to thank our farmers for everything you guys do. And I want to thank our truck drivers for everything you guys do out there. And I want to thank you, the American people, who do your research, find out what's going on. It's okay to talk to your friends and learn some things from them, but make sure they know what they're talking about, because they don't always. And that's what we're talking about today. And I do want to give one applause out here for Jerry. Thanks for your service in the military. We really appreciate you. Let me give you this applause.
My pleasure.
So that's what I wanted to do for Jerry, because he deserves it, guys. He is, he was on the ground. He was fighting. I'm telling you, when you got people who are doing that and fighting for this country and know what's going on, and they stay in touch with their friends who are still in the military, and I actually talk to people who are in the military and who are in law enforcement, you find out the truth about a lot of things. So just keep that in mind. Don't listen to these crazy people on all these social media sites, because some of them are good, such as our social media site, mine. And apparently Jerry's part of it lately. And then also some of them are crazy out there. And I'm not perfect on everything I say on the social media site. I've had to correct a few things here and there. But not today, I'm not. And it was just proven. All right. Hey, guys, God bless you. God bless America. Thanks for listening. And I will be back in a day or two. Thank you. Take care.